I just love our intro song.
It is fun. I usually, once I start singing it, it just gets stuck in my head.
All day.
And it's just
Sir, this is a duck. I wonder how they came up with that name.
I guess they were thinking of I can see like a duck waddling.
Yeah, I can see that. Like a little cartoony duck.
Yeah, and it's kind of matching the tune.
Yeah, it's a great intro song. Well, we're back after a couple weeks of being separated. Father Jay was on retreat, and I was away skiing the Dolomites and the Alps.
Dolomites, that sounds cool.
It's a really cool name. It's actually a different mountain formation. So our first day there, we were on the lift on the way up, and some Italian guy was trying to explain the difference to us between the Dolomites and the Alps. And you could actually see it in the mountains. So the Dolomites are more like square and pointy, and the Alps are more like traditional mountains. So we were kind of like on the border. And I think he said it has something to do with calcium. Like the Dolomites have like, we couldn't understand if it was calcium buildup or calcium deposits, like what it was that makes it quote unquote the Dolomites. But anyway, I did hear that they're going to do the Olympics there.
Soon?
The Winter Olympics. Yeah, I think the next Winter Olympics are going to be in the Dolomites. It was amazing.
So where's the Dolomites exactly?
Northern Italy.
Northern Italy.
So northern Italy near Trent. So we were in a ski resort called Madonna di Campiglio. But there's others. So when I was studying in seminary, we used to go to another one called Cortina di Ampezzo. But Madonna di Campiglio was nice because one side of the mountain was technically the Alps and the other side was the Dolomites, which was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
The Dolomite side snow was way better. It was
really?
Like that video that I recorded of me like preaching from the mountaintops. That was the Dolomite side. It was like way more beautiful, way more snowy. It was really, really cool.
So you just skied on the Dolomite side or both?
No, we skied both.
And Alps and the Dolomites.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the town is like in a valley in between both. So it was super cool. I love skiing. I know I talked about it in the podcast when you were away, so I'm not going to talk too much more about it.
Right.
But it is an amazing hobby and sport, and I'm just so blessed.
Right.
We stayed with a local priest there, the local pastor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he allowed us to stay for a couple days. Met his mom. His mom cooked for us one night.
Ooh.
He took us out one night with all local foods. It was very, very cool. Nice. Very blessed to be in the church.
Yeah, and I mean, you showed us the videos of the Dolomites and the ski, and the background was just like amazing. Out of this world.
It was the best skiing I've never done like the fancy like Swiss Alps or the French, Mont Blanc, and I don't even know if they're expensive or not. But European skiing is way cheaper than American skiing. So for an American day pass, like there's some resorts where just for a lift ticket for one day, it's like $250.
Whoa.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
And last year we skied Utah, I did Colorado, Whistler in Canada. None of them compared to where I just went. And it was only like $70 a day.
Wow.
In Europe. So mind you, I never pay full price because if you do like season passes, you get like, you pay like whatever, I don't know, $500 for the year, $600 for the year. And then you go to all the mountains are like connected by a big network. So it's not like if you have your own equipment, it's not as expensive of a sport or hobby as people think.
Yeah.
And when you stay at, churches and priests and rectories, there's really low cost involved. But it's just a great hobby. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so amazing. To be on top. I mean, we were literally like above the clouds.
Yeah.
It's just God's creation is just right in front of you. There. You can't deny it. So yeah, it was good, but I'm happy to be back. I was technically only gone for a couple days. It was like I left on Sunday. I got there Monday. Yeah, I left Sunday and I was back Friday morning.
Yeah.
And it was President's Day. So our sacristan reminded me, she said that doesn't count as a day off. So technically I only took 2 days off.
So you have another maybe almost a week of another vacation time?
Something like that, yeah. Maybe I'll do another ski trip. So what do we have on the agenda for today?
I mean, next week we start Lent. It's the season of Lent begins, and beginning with Ash Wednesday.
The season.
And I think we should talk about Ash Wednesday and what it is and the tradition of it, kind of go into it, the beauty of it, because by the time the next episode comes out, we will already be in Lent.
That's right. We'll probably be recording on Ash Wednesday.
I think
preparing
so.
for Lent.
Yeah, and so we'll go get into Lent more later next week. But I think Ash Wednesday is a good start. It's one of the busiest days in every Catholic church.
It's amazing. I always say the church fills out for Ash Wednesday because people get ashes on their head.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that wild to think? Like, ashes.
It's
not like we're giving away $1 million
No.
or a free car. We're putting ashes on people's heads. And wait, it gets even better. We're telling them, you are dust, and unto dust you shall return.
Yeah.
So the church fills up for people to get ashes on their head to be told that they are going to die.
Yeah. Just
What is that?
baby.
What can you please explain to me the psychology behind that?
I mean, I think. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I can say for all people, but I think there is a genuine desire to know, like, what's after death. And everybody kind of has that feeling, and a lot of, I think, those kind of ideas or thoughts are muted in our modern culture. Like, you don't have to think about those things; just enjoy the life as is given to you, and just try to do best in this world, and not really think about what comes afterwards, because nobody knows. But it is a reality that everybody has to face, and I think it is a sometimes it could be a good reminder of how we are living our life in this world, how are we living up to the standards that we may have set up to, or maybe not living up to those standards. But it always becomes a good moment of reflection, I think, when we really have to be reminded of the mortality that we all have.
Dude, I think that's way too deep.
I mean, you ask for the psychology.
I think people just like getting ashes on their forehead and wearing it all day.
I was very surprised because when I first became
I really
priest,
think it's just like a mark of like Catholic pride.
I think especially in America, because like we have the huge cross on our heads, and there's like all different kind of crosses that the priests.
Yeah, it's funny because that's really only an American thing,
right? Because in other countries
they sprinkle
it on their head. Yeah, and I was very surprised when I first became a priest.
Well, I always found it hilarious because the gospel that day for Ash Wednesday basically says, "Don't tell anyone when you're fasting."
Right.
Don't have any like outward signs of
if you're fasting, like be clean. If you're almsgiving, just don't let anyone know. Don't let your left hand know what your right is doing.
And then we go around and put a giant cross on everyone's head saying, "Look, I'm a Catholic and I'm fasting, I'm praying, and I'm giving alms."
Okay, and Ash Wednesdays is the day that the most people come back to church for the Ash Wednesday service.
Do you think the church would fill out every weekend if we put ashes on people's head and told them they're going to die?
Maybe not, because if it becomes too regular, it kind of loses that taste,
I don't know. I think if you did it every Sunday, it's once a week, not every day. I think if you did it every Sunday and people left Mass with ashes on their head, because then it's like public shaming, like, oh, he didn't go to Mass today.
I think maybe I think it's something external that can be shown.
Yeah,
because we give Eucharist every day.
Yeah, but other people don't know about it.
Yeah, people can't see it.
It's like the old school Google review,
right? And I think also another day that is very popular, that a lot of people come, is Palm Sunday.
Because they get something.
Yeah, and so they have something to carry out of the Mass, and it's kind of, again, interesting to see that the 2 days, even more than Easter and Christmas, that the church actually packs up the most is when they get to leave something with something in their head or something in their face. Yeah.
So let's be creative. Let's think. What could we draw on people's faces every Sunday to make sure they come back to Mass?
Like a smiley face.
Yeah, like a smiley face.
Or a sticker, like a star sticker.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Oh my gosh, that would be so funny. But it's true. The church does fill up. Here we get pretty good numbers. I mean, it's not like crazy, but we get a lot of people too that stop throughout the day because we have a lot of like working people, and police officers, and I mean, obviously people make the attempt to go to Mass. So like, if you can go to Mass, go.
Right.
But if you can't, it is nice to receive the prayer and the blessing.
Right. And I think, again, the strange thing is Ash Wednesday isn't actually a day of obligation.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we had that whole segment on days of obligation.
Right, so days of obligation, like we said before, are the days that the church asks all of the members faithful to participate in the celebration of that day, because it's a very significant day. And it's actually Ash Wednesday isn't one of them. But, again, even the person who hasn't been going to Mass the whole year, or even those who have been away from the church for many, many years, they'll still come and receive Ash. And so it is a very significant day. I
think it is a powerful symbol, right? Because when you get the ashes on your head, you're told either repent and believe in the gospel, or you are dust, and to dust you shall return, or to dust you will return. And it's like, it's preparing us for the season of Lent, right? Which is focused on prayer, almsgiving, and fasting. Mm-hmm. But I think to me, similar to what you were saying before, it's a reality check, right? My life is limited. Like, I'm only here on this earth for a short time. What am I going to make of it? Am I going to please man? Am I going to please my employers? Am I going to please my family? Or am I going to please God? Because if we're only here for a short time, like, what do we do with that time?
Right.
What do we serve with that time? Do we serve money? Do we serve pleasure? Or do we serve God? Right? So I think Ash Wednesday and the reality of our mortality is a call to do exactly that. Repent and believe in the gospel, and remember that we are dust, and that unto dust we shall return.
Right. And the Lenten season is precisely entering into that, right?
Yep.
It's that we recognize our mortality, we recognize our limitedness, and therefore that leads to repentance and conversion, to believe in the gospel, that there is something greater than this mortal life, this life on earth. There is something that is offered to us and given to us by the sheer love of God. And
that's really important, too, to remember, because a lot of times we approach Lent or Ash Wednesday like, oh, I'm going to give up candy this year for Lent, or I'm going to give up chocolate or coffee or alcohol. And it's like, okay, that's good, but sometimes we almost approach it as like a workout regime, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to give up coffee for all of Lent, and I'm going to be, so proud of myself when I'm done.
Right.
And it's like, well, okay, sure, but that's not really the point.
Right.
The point is you really don't even have to give up anything. There's no Lenten rule that says give up something. It just says prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, right? So things to detach us from our worldly attachments so that we can be free to worship God more happily, more faithfully.
Right.
Personally, I always find Lent, even though it's like dark purple, right? Like not a lot of music, not a lot of like,
vibrance,
fanfare, and but it's always a really special time and a happy time,
right?
Because it's really spiritual, and you're feeding your spirit,
right?
And that makes you happy because we are, spiritual beings. We have souls that need to be fed.
I think it's precisely kind of like you said about detachment of the world, and we can be attached more to God. And I think that is a spirit of Lent where we are trying to love God as much as possible. Like our core desire is to love God, and we're really aiming at that core desire. So when we're actually focusing on that desire, we actually, rather than being sad or depressed about giving things up that we like,
right,
we find actually joy,
which
in
are
those
all
moments.
half desires, right? Like, yes, chocolate is good and we really like chocolate, but that's a half desire. Like that, our desire for chocolate is really a desire for God, right?
It's aimed at, all desires, I think, is ultimately aimed at God, but it's that we mistaken, or we distort that desire to be, I want chocolate because it tastes good and it's good for me. And it's like, no, there's a deeper desire in there that chocolate makes you happy, and that's why you get it. And happiness is really the goal, right? And then we have to really think about what actually makes us truly happy. Like, if I have infinite chocolate, will I be happy? Probably not.
Probably be sick.
And so it's those things like, I don't actually need chocolate to be happy.
It was like that dark chocolate piece that I ate the other day.
It's like 95% cacao.
cacao.
Yeah.
And it looked so good, and it tasted so bad.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was going to make me so happy. And it made me
it's gonna be very bitter and
disappointed.
yeah. And then that's what most of the things in our world does, right? We think we're gonna be very happy if we have it.
That's it. So if you think chocolate is going to make you happy, eat a piece of 95% cacao.
And just tell us how it is.
And tell us how it is. And see if it makes you happy.
And I think the another thing is, like, if you're doing Lent, like especially fasting for yourself,
Is that how you say it? Cacao?
I think it's cacao. Yeah,
I thought it was like cocoa.
cocoa beans, cacao
I don't know.
beans.
I don't know
I
what
think
you
it's CAO.
I just see 95%.
Yeah, but
Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
I think if you're fasting for ourselves, like that reason, like, oh, I'm gonna be cutting off chocolate, or I'm gonna be cutting off sugar or gluten, right? So I can be healthier and feel better about myself. Well, like, actually, like, that process will be miserable because you're taking away something you like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing it for yourself. But I think the Christian life is always aimed at the other. And so if you're fasting for somebody else in your life, someone that you know that is in need, someone you know that is suffering, someone that's going through a hard time,
Yeah.
right? It actually helps you to bear those difficulties, even if it's a little bit of difficulty. I mean, I don't think not having chocolate for 40 days is that detrimental to your life, but some people will actually feel it's going to be hard for them.
Well, like if you give up coffee, right?
Right.
People who drink coffee every day like that. Like I did it 1 year, coffee, and the first week was really, really hard.
Right, and in that experience itself, first it allows us to empathize with those who are suffering around us.
Right.
But again, it allows us to bear that pain because we know that we're offering it up for somebody else.
Right.
And I think that's a kind of deeper way of looking at it.
Yeah, when you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I think would be a good fasting option? Like fasting from like this, not just like fasting from cell phone or media or TV in and of itself, but actually replacing it with something like spiritual reading or gospel readings,
Right.
or reflection on the Word of God. Like fasting time to dedicate more time to prayer and to God.
Right. I think that's a common misconception of fasting is not doing things.
Mm-hmm.
But there are ways to fast by doing things.
Right.
And because you're doing those things rather than the things that you would have normally be doing.
Yeah.
Right. So rather than, again, social media, going on TikTok or Instagram, I'm just gonna spend 20 minutes in doing the rosary or just having a good spiritual reading.
Or how about just sitting in silence in the presence of God?
I mean, that's beautiful.
Right? Like just turning off the lights and just contemplating God's presence in your life for 20 minutes.
I think that's wonderful. It's difficult.
That's like that would be real fasting.
I think that's one of the most difficult thing that a person can do, just to sit in silence.
Yeah.
Because we both have been to a silent retreat, and I remember my first time in a silent retreat. I was completely lost for the first few days.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, like, what do I do? What am I thinking? What do I say? And I was going crazy in all the thoughts in my head. And after a few days, you just start to filter it out, and I was able to be calm. And it was the most beautiful experience, powerful experience that I kind of had.
It takes a few days to get into it.
Right. But yeah, that getting into that practice of being silent and to listen to the Lord, I think that's a wonderful thing.
So we have Ash Wednesday. It's going to be, what is it, March 5th?
March 5th, yeah. I think
that's when it falls. So we have Mass at 8 a.m. in English with music. I think Michael and Mara will be there for the music, 8 a.m. And then 12 p.m., people who like to sleep in or who are on their lunch break or whatever. We have 11 a.m. at the nursing home.
Okay.
And then me and you will have a service at the school.
Wonderful.
At some point there, we have to go over to the school. And then we have an evening service at 7 p.m., but that one's in Spanish.
Okay.
So it'll be Spanish service at 7. So basically in the church, it's 8, 12, and 7.
Mm-hmm.
And then 11 at the nursing home. And then
sometimes during
at the school,
school time.
Yeah, and a little secret for our podcast listeners: if for whatever reason you can't make it to the Mass, let us know. We're here in the rectory. It's not a holy day of obligation. You can come.
Yeah.
I mean, for all 72 people that listen to the podcast,
Shout out to them.
yeah, shout out to them. Giving them a little insider secret here.
Right.
If you ring the bell, we'll probably give you the blessing and the ashes. But it's nice to come to Mass because a lot of people do come. It's a very nice way to start Lent. So if you can make it to Mass, make it to Mass. If not, just come by and say hi and we'll give you a blessing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Ash Wednesday. I'm looking forward to the season of Lent.
And then, so I mean, speaking of ash, right? The ash comes from usually traditionally the palms.
Oh,
right?
from the year before.
The palms from the year before.
So Palm Sunday, the year before, people usually save them throughout the year. They put them under their mattresses in the car, whatever.
Right.
Now, in the past, I don't know why we didn't do it this year. Maybe just like we didn't have time with the scheduling. But in the past, because we changed our religious head schedule. That's why.
Yeah.
But we would do, after the 12 o'clock Mass, we would have the burning of the palms.
Right.
So that would be this Sunday, but we're not doing it this year. Normally, but you can still bring, if you're listening and you have your palms from the year before, you can still bring them to the church and we will still burn them and use them for Ash Wednesday. But we're just not doing the public ceremony this year, which is unfortunate. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
And we get a lot of people. We process out of the church, 12 o'clock, we go
really?
into the driveway, and then a lot of people are there. They put their own palms in, we burn them, and then we collect the ashes and use them for Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a traditional way to do it. We are doing it, but just not publicly this year, just because of the time and the scheduling. We have religious ed running on in the parking lot,
Right.
so we didn't really have somewhere to do it. But anyway, yeah, please bring your palms if you still have them from last year, and we'll use them for Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, that's another tip for the
Insiders.
podcaster.
Yeah, because I didn't
Podcast
announce it
listener.
at the Mass. Only the podcaster.
Yeah, a few people
listeners.
actually brought some palms.
I saw that. I saw
Yeah.
it. Because they're used to it now. We've
Yeah.
done it for a few years now. So just very quickly, Pope Francis has been very sick.
He's been sick for a few weeks now.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
in the hospital, critical condition. Obviously, there's a lot of speculations that, this might be his time to encounter our Lord. We don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that it's not. I have no idea.
Yeah, the
but-
most recent news article, I think it's Vatican, the news site, that one. Yeah, that one, it says that Pope Francis is still in critical stage, but he's more stable now. And so we don't really know how it's just going to end, how it's going to go. But still, we need to pray for him.
Yeah,
we should pray for him.
let's just pray for him, for his health of mind, body, soul, that the Lord give him peace and strength and confidence, and especially those doctors under whose care he's in. And so, yeah, let's continue to pray for our Pope, for our Holy Father, to guide our church with wisdom and with grace, as we should always be doing, right? We should always pray for our church
Right.
leaders. So we're coming up on about 23 minutes right now, so we got a few minutes. A special thing going on this weekend is we are going to be doing our what's called the In-Pew Weekend for the Archbishop's Annual Appeal. So the Annual Appeal is where the Archbishop asks all the Catholics in the Archdiocese for money.
Right.
But it's not that simple. I want to explain what that means because I mean, you kind of have learned my stewardship approach.
Yep.
Like, I'm very hands off. Like, look, if you want to give, you can give. If if you can't, you can't. Like, we're not going to hound people for money. We never do. I never really
Nope.
ask. I mean, there's specific times throughout the year, like the annual appeal, like our stewardship weekend. There's specific times at the year where I remind people the finances of the parish and of the diocese. But that's one beautiful thing about being Catholic is that there's no membership fees.
No.
There's no dues. Somebody could come to church their whole life, never put a dime in a collection box, and that's okay.
It's fine.
I mean, it's good. It's a spiritual practice to give, right? Because it shows us where our priorities are.
Right.
But
There are other ways to give.
there's
There are
other ways to give.
serve.
Some people give time. Some people serve,
Right.
So, however, the annual appeal, I want to explain it because I will preach about it, but I know a lot of parishes, even priests, that sometimes get a little bitter about the appeal because we're kind of like forced to ask our
Right.
people for money for
It's
the
mandated.
archdiocese. It's mandated. However, in our parish, and I preach about this every year, we benefit way more from the annual appeal than what we're able to give. So, for example, the last few years, our goal was about 18,000 around there to raise that that amount for the diocese.
Okay.
This year it's more. It's like 26.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna
because
rise.
our collection has kept going up. But that is nothing compared to what we get. So, for example, next door we have the Mercy House,
Right.
where we have an outreach center that serves the people of the community 2 days a week. Right? They give food, clothing, diapers, baby needs,
All those
anything,
things, yeah.
everything. There's 30 women in residence there
Mm-hmm.
who otherwise
Wouldn't have a home.
may not have a home or would have a hard time finding a home. We have the school, Sacred Heart School, which the annual appeal obviously supports in many different ways. The last 2 years, we've received grants, both for $25,000.
Wow.
So one was to install a new handicap lift, and the other one was for security. So like new doors, new locks, new cameras. So like those new cameras you see,
Yep.
the new doors we're installing, the locks,
Yep.
the lock project we just did. So when you add up, seminarians, the annual appeal supports the seminary. We've always had seminary. This year we don't. Although James comes every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it supports the seminary and the formation of future priests. And we've always had deacons or seminarians here at this parish. So the benefit so the annual appeal benefits us more than what we're able to give.
Right.
Even if that's why I wasn't upset when I was told that our goal is higher this year. Because it's like, well, we get so much out of this,
Right.
as a community. So like when those people are giving to the annual appeal, and they have to mark our parish. We're parish 681. So any listeners who are giving to the annual appeal, make sure you mark 681. Because then that way we also get credits for it too. Like if we reach our goal,
Right.
basically the way it works is like we get reductions on our assessments, which is
yeah.
basically like taxes, right? So like every parish is assessed. So like most parishes are assessed like 12, 14, 16%, right? Which that's money that goes to the archdiocese. But if you meet your goal, your assessment is lowered, which saves you like thousands.
Right.
And every year our assessment has been lowered because we've met our goal.
Which is great.
And we've been able to use that money for some of the repair projects, some of the ministries, some of the staffing. So yeah, the appeal supports us tremendously in this parish.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard topic to always kind of, at least for me, when I first got to my first parish, it is a hard topic to really like preach about and talk about, because it's just awkward to ask for money.
It's not though.
But
it's not.
But I understood as the kind of, I think the benefit is that you see the church as a whole.
Right.
It's not just that, hey, I am just at St. Paul and this is my church.
Yeah.
This is my parish, which is true, it's our parish, but that this parish is connected to this universal church, which we call, directly right now to our archdiocese. And that what I give, what we contribute, whether in Sunday collections or to the annual appeal, not only benefits us, but it is helping even the people in Bergen County or in the Hudson County or Essex County, and somehow there is this universal kind of idea that we are all united in this one big ship.
Yeah.
And I think that I really appreciated that fact.
Yeah, when you see how the money works and how it flows, you really come to understand that it's not awkward. And I say that because I'm in a position now where I've been pastor for 4 years. So, like, I see how that money works. Like, it's part of the mission. It's not, I'm not going off and buying a jet plane.
Right.
Although that'd be cool.
It would be, it would be nice. Right. And I think a lot of people can be a little bit hesitant to give. That's why. Because we know
because it's all based on trust.
Right. We know how our parish works, and
right.
And we know the pastors, so we know how generous they are, how devoted they are, and so if we know them, it's easier to give. But for archdiocese, it seems like other institute that we just have no idea of.
Yeah.
But again, our parish is under the diocese of Archdiocese of Newark, where all the parishes in our diocese, right, is the support of the diocese, and so.
And parishes like us that are lower income, we tend to benefit more from the annual appeal
Right.
from the diocese, so it's a way of kind of equalizing the playing field between those parishes that have a lot more money, because the parishes that have a lot more money,
They had to get more.
their goals are a lot higher. Like some of
A
them,
lot higher.
100,000. Right?
Yeah.
What was the Wyckoff goal? Like
I can't remember. but
150,000 or something like that.
Is a lot.
It's got to be a lot. Yeah.
It's because, and again, Wyckoff, it is a prominent area. It is a lot more. It's a bigger area, bigger church, so
Right.
that's why they ask for more. And yeah, and people are generous over there enough to fulfill their quota. And right, and then again, the diocese isn't that too kind of crazy to say, hey, right, like because you have less people, like you still have to pay the same amount. No,
Right.
It's like you have less people, okay, you can pay
Yeah.
less, and
But it's all about trust and relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Anyone is willing to give if they know it's supporting a good cause.
right. And again, it's a way to give, when it's a way to be generous, way to practice,
Especially as we approach Lent.
way
right?
to practice
Almsgiving.
the gospel.
So, speaking of the gospel, so again, we'll be saying more about the annual appeal this weekend. But I want to finish with this Sunday's gospel reading. So, we have the gospel. It's the 8th Sunday of Ordinary Time. And this weekend, we'll be hearing from the Gospel of Luke, where it reads, "He also told them a parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, when he is fully taught, will be like his teacher."
I think you're reading the wrong translation.
No, I'm not. Really?
Yeah, that's not the NABRE one.
Oh, come on, dude.
There are different translations of the Bible, so
Whatever. And I usually read from the USCCB website, but for whatever reason, I had the Ascension app open, and that reads from the RSV rather than the NASB, and I forgot about that. All right, well, let's read the correct translation. Jesus told his disciples a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? No disciple is superior to the teacher, but when fully trained, every disciple will be like his teacher. Why do you notice a splinter in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the wooden beam in your own? How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me remove that splinter in your eye," when you do not even notice the wooden beam in your own eye? You hypocrite! Remove the wooden beam from your eye first, then you will see clearly to remove the splinter in your brother's eye. A good tree does not bear rotten fruit, nor does a rotten tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not pick figs from thorn bushes, nor do they gather grapes from brambles. A good person out of the store of goodness in his heart produces good, but an evil person out of a store of evil produces evil. For from the fullness of the heart the mouth speaks. Amen.
Amen.
You want to say a word on it?
Yeah, I mean, this gospel continues immediately from last week's gospel, which is about don't judge and you shall not be judged. Do not condemn and you shall not be condemned. Forgive and you'll be forgiven. And I think it follows that kind of same idea of judging others and kind of measuring others according to the person's action or what they have done in their life, right? Because it says, hey, right, why do you try to remove that splinter in your brother's eye and when you have that wooden beam in your own eye? Right? We tend to judge others and we don't tend to judge ourselves in the same light. And if we judge ourselves in that same light, we're going to be noticing, whoa, like I'm actually just as bad as my brother. Or even worse, I'm actually worse than my brother. Right? And in that light, how can I persecute him? How can I say that, hey, you're not worthy of my love, you're not worthy of my time, you're not worthy of my care and my attention, right? Because if we go by the same standard, I don't even deserve those things myself as well. And I think that's kind of the idea. And speaking of the tree and that bears good fruit and rotten fruit, I was really thinking about like what is a rotten fruit? And I mean, going back to Genesis, the only fruit that Adam and Eve wasn't supposed to eat was the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. And that is precisely what allowed them to judge what is good for them and bad for them. And then they take to see other things of the world and really begin to judge for themselves. Like, are you good for me or not? Will you be benefit for me or not? Are you necessary in my life or not? And if we bear rotten fruit, then that's the fruit that we're going to be giving to others, because fruit is always for other people, and that's the fruit that other people are going to bear, right? So if we give the fruit of judgment to others, then that person will give that fruit of judgment to another person, and it will just permeate. That evil will permeate. But if we give good fruit, the fruit of love, the fruit of joy, the fruit of peace, then those are the fruit that the other person receives from us, and that's the fruit that they're going to be giving to others as well. And so how do we permeate God's love or God's mercy? Well, we have to be merciful first ourselves. We have to receive that mercy, which we do. We receive His mercy every time we go to confession, every time we come to Mass. We receive His life, right? And so it's to take that and to give it away. And I think that is the really the call of the gospel. Is never just to receive from the Lord, but to receive and give it away. That's the fullness of the gospel, I think.
Sir, this is a duck.